You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Customer satisfaction is a cornerstone of delivery validation because it reveals whether increments genuinely improved user experience, reduced effort, and met expectations that matter. The orientation of this domain emphasizes practical and ethical ways of measuring satisfaction so that findings are actionable and trustworthy. Satisfaction cannot be treated as a vanity metric or a superficial survey result. Instead, it must be built on structured methods that capture both perception and behavior. This includes traditional metrics like CSAT, CES, and NPS, but also behavioral signals such as adoption, retention, and churn. Importantly, satisfaction practices must respect privacy and inclusion, ensuring that measures do not distort reality by excluding voices or incentivizing manipulation. Done well, customer satisfaction evaluation becomes a learning mechanism that not only validates outcomes but also guides continuous improvement across products, services, and processes. Satisfaction scope distinguishes between perceived experience and behavioral outcomes, treating both as necessary evidence of real value. Perception reflects how users feel during or after an interaction. Were they satisfied, frustrated, or delighted? Behavioral outcomes reveal what users actually do afterward. Did they return, complete tasks, or abandon the system? For example, a user might rate a checkout flow as satisfactory on a survey, but never return due to hidden friction. Without examining both sides, organizations risk false positives or blind spots. Satisfaction scope therefore insists on dual validation, surveys, ratings, and qualitative input for perception, paired with telemetry, adoption, and churn data for behavior. Together, these perspectives confirm whether value was realized. This balanced approach prevents reliance on shallow sentiment or cold numbers alone, creating a more holistic and honest picture of customer experience. Customer satisfaction, or CSAT, is the most direct measure of immediate sentiment about a specific interaction. Typically asked through a simple scale, such as 1 to 5 stars or very dissatisfied to very satisfied, it provides quick snapshots of how users perceive outcomes. However, CSAT is sensitive to context and timing. A survey delivered immediately after resolution may capture relief, while one sent later may reflect broader impressions. Question wording also matters. Leading or vague phrasing can bias results. For example, asking, "Are you happy with our service?" may inflate positivity compared to, "Did the checkout process meet your expectations?" CSAT is most valuable when standardized, delivered at consistent points, and paired with behavior data. Interpreted carefully, it provides a reliable signal of short-term satisfaction, but only when recognized as a contextual snapshot rather than a comprehensive measure. Customer Effort Score, or CES, measures how hard users must work to achieve outcomes. Unlike CSAT, which asks about general satisfaction, CES probes the friction of the process. Was the effort minimal or frustratingly high? This metric is powerful because effort reduction is closely linked to loyalty and retention. Users often tolerate minor issues if tasks are easy, but high effort drives churn. For example, if password resets require multiple steps and agent intervention, effort scores will highlight frustration even if outcomes are technically successful. By making ease of use explicit, CES turns satisfaction into actionable design insight. It pinpoints where processes should be simplified and validates whether changes reduced user friction. CES therefore bridges perception and behavior, as lower effort consistently correlates with higher retention and repeat engagement. Net Promoter Score, or NPS, captures likelihood to recommend, offering a long-term lens on loyalty and advocacy. It classifies respondents as promoters, passives, or detractors, based on their answers to the core question, how likely are you to recommend this product or service to others? While widely used, NPS is often misinterpreted. Without segmentation, it can overgeneralize, masking that certain cohorts are dissatisfied while averages look strong. Context also matters. Users may recommend a product because of brand affinity rather than specific increment improvements. For example, a new feature might not affect NPS directly, but it could influence retention indirectly. NPS should therefore be interpreted alongside other measures and segmented by user type, region, or product plan. Done responsibly, it provides valuable directional insight, but only when contextualized and never treated as the sole verdict on satisfaction. Behavioral proxies ground satisfaction in what users actually do after release. Adoption rates show whether new features are being tried, while task success measures confirm whether workflows are completed as intended. Retention indicates whether value persists, and churn reveals whether dissatisfaction drove abandonment. For example, a customer might give positive survey feedback but stop using the feature weeks later, behavior exposing the true outcome. Proxies anchor sentiment in action, making satisfaction validation harder to game. They also highlight mismatches. A feature may test well in surveys but show weak adoption, signaling hidden barriers. Behavioral evidence adds rigor, ensuring that satisfaction is judged not only by stated opinion, but also by revealed preference. By triangulating surveys with telemetry, organizations capture a more accurate picture of whether increments delivered enduring value. Journey stage awareness is critical for interpreting satisfaction since expectations vary depending on where users are in their experience. Discovery phase users may value clarity and ease of onboarding, while experienced users focus on efficiency and advanced functionality. A single survey question cannot capture these nuances unless segmented by stage. For example, new users may report high satisfaction with guided tutorials, while longtime users see them as clutter. Similarly, expectations in onboarding differ from those during mastery, where reliability dominates. Without accounting for stage, results can be misleading, masking concentrated pain points. Journey stage awareness ensures that satisfaction measures are contextualized, enabling targeted improvements. It reminds organizations that value is not static but evolves as users progress. Tailoring measurement to stage provides sharper insights into where satisfaction grows or declines across the customer journey. Segmentation and cohort analysis uncover which audiences benefit most and which struggle. Averages are blunt instruments, often hiding concentrated pain within subgroups. For example, mobile users may face higher friction than desktop users, or one geographic region may report lower satisfaction due to infrastructure differences. Without segmentation, these signals are lost in the aggregate. Cohort analysis extends this by tracking groups over time, revealing whether satisfaction persists or fades. For instance, early adopters may initially rate a feature highly, but subsequent cohorts may not replicate that enthusiasm. Segmentation makes results actionable by pointing directly to where improvements are needed. It ensures that satisfaction measures are equitable, addressing disparities rather than concealing them. This practice prevents overconfidence in averages and delivers a nuanced understanding of impact across diverse users. Survey design principles safeguard satisfaction measures against bias and noise. Poorly designed instruments can produce misleading results that distort decisions. Principles include defining clear sampling frames, setting appropriate frequency, and controlling for bias in wording. For example, sending too many surveys can lead to fatigue, while vague questions encourage inconsistent interpretations. Sampling must represent real user groups, not just the most vocal or convenient segments. Timing also matters. A survey sent immediately after support may capture relief rather than overall experience. Bias controls, such as randomized question order or neutral phrasing, reduce skew. When principles are followed, surveys yield data that is comparable over time and resilient to context changes. This durability makes results trustworthy, enabling longitudinal evaluation. Sound design transforms surveys from fragile artifacts into robust satisfaction tools. Voice of the customer channels provide the qualitative nuance that metrics alone cannot capture. Interviews, open-ended survey responses, support themes, and even public reviews give context to numeric signals. For example, telemetry may show adoption rates rising, but interviews might reveal frustration with certain workflows that are tolerated rather than enjoyed. Support conversations may highlight recurring misunderstandings invisible to satisfaction scores. These narratives explain the why behind quantitative results, making validation actionable. Without voice of the customer channels, organizations risk reducing satisfaction to numbers stripped of meaning. By weaving stories into data, teams humanize evidence, remembering that behind every metric is an actual user experience. This qualitative layer ensures that responses to satisfaction signals are empathetic and informed, not just mechanical. Accessibility and inclusion are essential to ensure that satisfaction measures reflect the experiences of all users, not just the majority. Surveys, feedback channels, and instruments must be designed to accommodate diverse needs. This includes providing accessible formats for screen readers, offering multiple languages, and ensuring that timing and platforms do not exclude certain groups. Without such practices, satisfaction data can be systematically biased, exaggerating success by omitting marginalized voices. For example, if mobile surveys are inaccessible to users with disabilities, their dissatisfaction remains invisible. Inclusive design prevents blind spots and strengthens trust, signaling that every user's voice matters. It also aligns measurement with ethical standards, reinforcing that satisfaction cannot be claimed unless it is representative. Accessibility elevates the integrity of satisfaction assessment, making it fair, comprehensive, and socially responsible. Data privacy and consent commitments protect trust when measuring satisfaction. Collecting user input must be transparent about purpose, scope, and retention. For example, survey prompts should disclose why feedback is sought and how long it will be stored. Data should be minimized, collecting only what is necessary. Privacy laws such as GDPR or CCPA further mandate explicit consent in some contexts. Violating these expectations erodes trust, undermining the very satisfaction being measured. By embedding privacy into satisfaction practices, organizations show respect for users as partners, not as data sources to exploit. This strengthens credibility and ensures that satisfaction metrics are sustainable. Ethical handling of satisfaction data turns measurement from a potential liability into a trust-building practice, reinforcing alignment between outcomes and values. Baselines and target ranges create honesty in satisfaction evaluation. A baseline establishes where satisfaction currently stands, while target ranges define where improvement is expected. For example, if average CSAT is 70%, the target may be to increase it to 75% within a quarter. By setting ranges, organizations avoid the trap of vague aspirations. They also prevent overconfidence, since improvement is measured against actual conditions rather than wishful thinking. Target ranges acknowledge variability, making goals both ambitious and realistic. This discipline enables fair evaluation and helps stakeholders interpret results accurately. Without baselines and targets, satisfaction metrics become floating numbers with no reference point. With them, validation becomes grounded in evidence, ensuring that claims of improvement are defensible. Leading and lagging indicators provide balance in satisfaction evaluation. Leading indicators, such as survey responses or early adoption, offer quick feedback that helps guide immediate adjustments. Lagging indicators, like retention rates, loyalty measures, or reduced support calls confirm whether benefits endured over time. For example, users may initially praise a new interface, but churn data months later may reveal declining satisfaction. Both perspectives are necessary. Leading signals inform course corrections, while lagging ones validate durability. Ignoring either creates blind spots, either by overreacting to noise or missing long-term patterns. Pairing them ensures that satisfaction validation is both responsive and rigorous. It keeps organizations honest about whether early enthusiasm translates into lasting impact. Anti-gaming guardrails protect satisfaction metrics from being manipulated for appearances rather than improvement. Goodhart's law warns that when a measure becomes a target, it risks being gamed. For example, support agents incentivized to maximize CSAT may selectively close tickets or prompt only happy users for responses. Guardrails include triangulating multiple metrics, monitoring for anomalies, and reinforcing cultural norms that emphasize authenticity. By designing satisfaction systems that resist distortion, organizations ensure that statistics remain reflections of reality rather than goals to be exploited. This preserves the integrity of both the measurement and the user experience. Anti-gaming practices remind teams that the objective is to improve outcomes, not to inflate scores. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Instrumentation plans ensure that satisfaction can be measured the moment an increment is released. Too often, teams deploy new features only to realize afterward that they lack the telemetry, surveys, or identifiers needed to confirm impact. By linking backlog items directly to instrumentation requirements, validation becomes proactive rather than reactive. For example, when planning a streamlined onboarding flow, the backlog should include tasks to capture task completion rates, abandonment points, and follow-up survey triggers. Instrumentation plans ensure that satisfaction evidence is not left to chance. They embed measurement into the work itself, making it possible to observe outcomes immediately. This discipline also reduces rework, since evidence pipelines are prepared in advance rather than bolted on later. By planning instrumentation carefully, teams guarantee that satisfaction assessment is consistent, efficient, and integrated into normal delivery rhythms. Mixed method synthesis provides richer insight than any single data source can offer. Numeric measures such as CSAT or NPS provide quantifiable signals, but they rarely explain why outcomes occurred. Narrative context from interviews, support feedback, or open-ended surveys fills this gap, adding meaning to the numbers. For example, adoption rates may show that a new feature is popular, but user interviews might reveal confusion about certain steps, highlighting opportunities for refinement. Mixed method synthesis triangulates perception, behavior, and qualitative experience, strengthening confidence in interpretation. It also prevents overreaction to isolated data points, ensuring that action is grounded in a balanced picture. By blending quantitative precision with human stories, mixed method approaches transform satisfaction assessment into a multidimensional tool for learning and decision-making, ensuring that results drive nuanced and effective responses. Distribution-aware analysis ensures that satisfaction measures reflect the diversity of real user experiences rather than smoothing them into averages. A mean satisfaction score might suggest overall success, but percentiles and ranges often tell a different story. For example, while most users may complete a process easily, a small group may face persistent failures that average scores conceal. By examining distributions, organizations identify outliers, systemic pain points, and concentrated dissatisfaction. This analysis is especially important when minority groups represent high-value or vulnerable customers. Narratives paired with ranges contextualize findings further, explaining why certain cohorts struggle. Distribution-aware analysis provides honesty and fairness in evaluation, ensuring that improvements benefit all users rather than just the majority. It strengthens accountability by revealing not only how satisfaction looks overall, but also where it falters critically. Support and operations signals connect satisfaction with service quality, linking user perceptions to the realities of support teams and system health. Ticket volumes, categories, first contact resolution rates, and time to restore metrics show how smoothly increments perform in the field. For example, if satisfaction surveys suggest a feature is well received, but ticket volume spikes with related issues, the picture is incomplete. Conversely, Declining support load may confirm that user effort decreased significantly. By including operational signals, organizations ground satisfaction in day-to-day realities, not just abstract survey results. These measures also ensure that improvements are sustainable, since satisfaction that requires constant firefighting is not genuine. Integrating support and operations data provides a comprehensive view of outcomes, connecting customer experience with organizational capacity to maintain quality. Attribution approaches ensure that satisfaction findings are tied to the increment itself rather than to unrelated external changes. Without attribution discipline, improvements may be mistakenly credited to features when they are actually driven by marketing campaigns, seasonality, or competitor moves. Methods such as cohort comparisons, control groups, or interrupted time series provide counterfactuals that clarify what changed because of the release. For example, if retention rises in markets where a feature was launched but remains flat elsewhere, attribution is credible. Attribution protects organizations from overclaiming, preserving trust with stakeholders and users alike. It also improves decision quality, ensuring that investments are directed to features with proven impact. By embedding attribution rigor, satisfaction assessment moves from speculation to defensible evidence. Action routing ensures that satisfaction findings do not remain static reports but lead to tangible adjustments. Each insight should map to a backlog item, a scope adjustment, or a confirmatory experiment with explicit owners and timeframes. For example, if CES shows that password resets remain frustrating, an action route might assign a backlog item to simplify the workflow within the next cycle. Routing evidence into planning makes satisfaction operational rather than rhetorical. It demonstrates accountability, showing stakeholders that user feedback drives change. This practice also prevents fatigue, as users see that their feedback leads to visible improvements. By institutionalizing action routing, organizations transform satisfaction measures into engines of continuous improvement. Communication of results determines whether satisfaction findings reinforce trust or erode it. Evidence must be shared in plain language appropriate to the audience, highlighting not only positive outcomes but also uncertainties and areas for improvement. For example, a report might state, CSAT improved by 8% in onboarding, though completion times remain longer than desired for mobile users. Next steps: targeted redesign. Transparency ensures that stakeholders interpret results realistically rather than through celebratory exaggeration. Communicating both strengths and weaknesses builds credibility, demonstrating that the organization values honesty over spin. This openness encourages continued participation in surveys and feedback channels, as users and stakeholders see that evidence is taken seriously. Communication transforms data into shared understanding and shared accountability. Ethics checks provide a safeguard against well-intended improvements that may unintentionally create harm. Before scaling changes, organizations must revisit fairness, accessibility, and unintended consequences. For example, a feature that reduces average effort may inadvertently disadvantage users with disabilities if accessibility was not considered. Similarly, aggressive prompts for survey feedback may cross into intrusiveness, undermining trust. Ethics checks confirm that satisfaction gains do not come at the cost of vulnerable groups, privacy, or equity. They reinforce that true satisfaction includes respect for fairness and transparency. By embedding ethics into evaluation, organizations protect against blind spots and ensure that changes align with values as well as metrics. Ethics checks strengthen satisfaction assessment by confirming that benefits are real, responsible, and sustainable. Vendor and partner alignment extends satisfaction assessment to external contributors whose systems shape user experience. Shared measures and coordinated review cadences prevent misalignment. For example, if a payment provider supplies part of a checkout flow, satisfaction cannot be measured fully without including their performance data. Joint reviews ensure that external dependencies meet the same standards as internal teams. This coordination also creates shared accountability, preventing blame cycles where each party claims satisfaction is the other's responsibility. Vendor and partner alignment reflects the reality that customer experience spans ecosystems, not just internal systems. It ensures that satisfaction is validated across all touchpoints that users encounter. Measure evolution recognizes that satisfaction instruments must adapt as products, users, and contexts change. Questions that once provided strong signals may lose relevance, while new priorities demand sharper tools. For example, as adoption matures, CES may become more useful than CSAT, or loyalty questions may need reframing for different user segments. By retiring low-signal measures and introducing new ones, organizations maintain relevance. Evolution prevents stagnation, where outdated surveys continue to circulate without producing actionable insight. It also strengthens comparability by documenting changes transparently, preserving trust in trend analysis. Measure evolution demonstrates that satisfaction assessment is itself iterative, improving alongside the systems it evaluates. Remote-friendly practices ensure that distributed teams and users can both contribute effectively to satisfaction assessment. Asynchronous surveys, digital boards for feedback, and recorded debriefs allow participants across time zones to engage without constant live meetings. For example, global users may provide feedback through asynchronous surveys while remote teams review findings via recorded sessions. These practices expand inclusivity and avoid bias toward co-located voices. Remote-friendly methods also increase response rates, as participants can engage at convenient times. By designing satisfaction assessment for distributed environments, organizations preserve breadth and diversity of input. Inclusivity strengthens accuracy, ensuring that satisfaction reflects global and remote realities rather than just local perspectives. Governance integration embeds satisfaction evidence into everyday tools for defensible reporting. Metrics, approvals, and retention trails are captured automatically within the same systems that manage delivery. For example, survey data may flow directly into dashboards with version to definitions, linked to backlog items, and increment goals. This integration ensures that evidence is always available for audits or compliance checks without requiring separate reporting processes. It also prevents loss of context, as satisfaction findings remain tied to their originating increments. Governance integration aligns agility with accountability, proving that organizations can be fast and transparent simultaneously. By embedding governance into satisfaction assessment, evidence remains both useful for improvement and defensible for oversight. Success indicators demonstrate whether satisfaction improvements are genuine and attributable to increments. Reduced user effort, higher task completion rates, improved CSAT, and stronger loyalty signals provide evidence of real progress. For example, if retention rises alongside survey improvements and support tickets decline, the case for success is strong. These indicators also protect against superficial wins, such as short-lived enthusiasm that fades without lasting benefit. By defining and tracking success indicators, organizations verify that increments create sustained improvements in experience and loyalty. Success is not declared by anecdotes or isolated metrics, but by converging evidence across satisfaction domains. This rigor strengthens stakeholder confidence that investments are delivering real results. Learning capture transforms each round of satisfaction assessment into reusable knowledge. Templates, playbooks, and case studies record what worked, what failed, and how signals were interpreted. For example, teams may capture lessons about survey timing that improved response rates, or about combining CES with support data for sharper insights. By documenting these heuristics, organizations raise the quality and speed of future evaluations. Learning capture prevents repetition of mistakes and spreads good practice across teams. It institutionalizes satisfaction assessment as a growing capability, not just a recurring activity. This maturity ensures that user experience improves not only through delivery, but also through how results are evaluated and acted upon. Satisfaction synthesis emphasizes that evaluation must balance perception and behavior, numeric signals and narratives, and short-term sentiment with long-term loyalty. Instruments like CSAT, CES, and NPS provide structure, while behavioral proxies anchor findings in action. Distribution-aware analysis, ethics checks, and governance integration preserve honesty and accountability. Vendor alignment, measure evolution, and remote practices extend reach and inclusivity. Success indicators and learning capture close the loop, ensuring that findings improve both products and practices. The outcome is a system where user satisfaction is measured rigorously, interpreted responsibly, and routed decisively into action. This synthesis ensures that every release is judged not by its novelty, but by its ability to make life easier, fairer, and more trustworthy for users. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.